Hello, welcome to Northeast Florida Gardening. Today we're going to take a look at the garden and see what's growing well. It's such a beautiful day. It's mid-70s, it's been getting down into the 40s a couple nights, November 4th, and let's take a tour. First we've got a tangerine tree that is pretty much ripening its fruit. There's a little bit of green, but these are going to be absolutely delicious. 11 fruit on a tree that was planted 18 months ago. It's hardened off well into the ground, so I'm fine letting that produce. This grapefruit tree is not hardened off into the ground. It still jiggles, and I let it fruit. It put all of its resources into its fruit, so now it's not looking too good, and it really hasn't established into the ground. An orange tree I'm going to plant in the spring. Seedling avocado, I have no idea how long that'll take to fruit. And Robinson tangerine that was almost dead, found cheap at Ace. A couple tomatoes, we'll see if we can get a few. And a little bit later in the video I'll show you all of my tomatoes that failed and why they did. This is a Meyer lemon, ever-bearing, one blossom, but it was not in the light, and so it dropped its leaves. And it also got really cold. The roots got cold, so I moved it out into the sun, and I'm taking it in when it gets into the 40s. Over this way, we have our usual collards, cabbage growing, some cucumbers that are now in the shade because it is new. It is, 3 p.m. or so we'd get only morning light in this area. Here are my apple seedlings. These are a seedling variety. It's seeds I put in the ground. They're from a pink lady, so I have no idea what it's going to turn out to be, but this is definitely my prize apple in terms of height. And I've got a couple dozen, well, a dozen or so here that we can graft onto. If I graft onto this as a rootstock, it'll take upwards of 10 years to fruit. So I might do that for a couple and just, plant them somewhere where they can grow wild, and we'll see. I need to get rid of my seedling citrus because they're just not doing well. And come to find out, it's not really what you should be doing in Florida because of citrus greening. You don't want to spread it, which is why you should purchase citrus with tags on them. That's what Florida wants you to do, so I need to abide by that. This is an apple tree that I got from Stone River Nursery in Orlando. It is a King of the Pippins, G890. And I'm really excited about that tree. Behind it is a fig, and behind it is a red maple. It might not be a red maple, but it is a maple, I think. And then a loquat, which is just doing awesome. Some pears, citrus, papaya, pussy willow, going to sleep, dropping its leaves. And here are the tomatoes. Remember in the spring, I did a round and they were doing really well, but it's gotten this disease. Can someone tell me what this disease is? Yellow turning leaves. I may have used some of the same soil that I did in the spring, so I wasn't rotating my crops, so maybe that has something to do with it. But it flowers and then it drops its flowers. Well, there's only one tomato right here, and that guy is the only tomato I have. And it's so sad because I've got 5, 6, 7 tomato plants and nothing's happening. So that's sad. Even these other seedlings that I started again have the same thing. What is that? I don't know. And back here are some elderberry. So I'll have to plant those somewhere, sometime. Back here are cabbages, starting maybe to head up. We'll see. Along with some onions, planted that are slowly just now coming up. This is the area that gets the most sunshine. You think, well, it's in shade right now. Yeah, it's cloudy, and that line just hits awful in October. When the sun gets lower in the sky, then it casts a shadow over my whole garden until the equivalent in the spring time, which is, mid-February. So it's kind of sad, but it is where my garden's at. I got to get a great summer garden area. Here are some cucumbers climbing up a too tall of trellis, but I also use those for beans in the spring. And really the thing I'm most excited about are these Brussels sprouts. I used to grow Brussels sprouts up in Wisconsin, and now these Brussels sprouts are just doing awesome. Huge leaves. At each node there's going to be a small Brussels sprout. It's like a miniature cabbage, and they're delicious cooked. So some old peppers. The herb garden always works well. That's what I love about herbs. No matter if it's frozen, cold, we got 24 degrees here in Mandarin back last December, and or whether it's heat of summer, herbs always do well as long as you keep them watered. It's amazing. I love it. So it's pretty much everything: basil, dill, sage, mint, onions, technically chives in here too, somewhere. This is chives, but that needs some more light, otherwise it's gonna die. And parsley, and margarine, can't pronounce that right. I've got more herbs in another place. And this is where I collect my chicken manure. I'll show that in a second, my process. But these are just a few cauliflower. So I got the brassicas going, That's about all I'm going to do. These, I might plant some things in between. Or maybe I should just keep that spacing the way it is. I don't know. I think they might be stunted because those cauliflower were bought within like a week of these. I planted the Brussels sprouts immediately, and then I waited and kept those, and I potted them for a month. So I think they're stunted. Oh well. Sweet potatoes. I've gotten a good amount of sweet potatoes. This gets awesome light in the summer, but not in the fall. So I haven't gotten a lot of sweet potatoes, and I wish I would have gotten more. But I was planning on having sweet potatoes in all the rows. But inevitably what happens is the sweet potatoes go over into the boxes. So here's my chickens. The 8 are doing well, except they're only laying a couple eggs a day. The chicken compost goes really well. These are 70 bags of leaves that I harvested in January and February of this year. They've turned it, and they put their manure in it, and then I harvest it with a wheelbarrow, and I take it all the way here, and it sets in this bed that gets lots of shade until spring, so it's perfect. Can't plant in it anyway. I might throw some either winter rye or some oats in there as a cover crop to help establish some roots and encourage microbes and things to start living in there and breaking it down the rest of the way. But I think, it's not, it has some times of hot, and it's not, I've had hot compost, but it sits here October, November, December, January, February, almost into March. So it sits here as almost 6 months aged, and it's already been aged a bit, but as far as chicken manure in your garden, it's a good amount of time, and there's different theories on how fast you can plant into mulch and such that has had chicken manure in it for food safety reasons. So a $1 elephant ear at a plant sale and now it's, you know, getting huge. I love those. Green manure, I think it can be. So another small herb garden with rosemary and thyme and oregano. And then here's some more oregano, but that's not that interesting. Here is, yeah, hibiscus, which may freeze back, but usually in our area we don't get very many freezes, which is nice. The garden arbor, beautiful. Finally looking out to be what I want it to be. The Anna apples slowing down, and I did this last year too. It didn't get rust and drop its leaves, but it's really dropping a lot of its leaves, and it's getting fall, but I did some trimming, which I saw in a video of Dave Wilson's nursery on how to encourage fruit spurs on 1 year's growth. So I've done that in a few places, but I doubt, like this, chopped it down, left a few nodes. I doubt that's going to turn into a fruiting spur, but I'm experimenting. Overall, this Anna, you may ask, why did I bend this down? Well, this didn't really sprout up very well in the spring, and I started getting shoots here. So I allowed this to be the stronger leader, and we'll just see how it goes. But I don't know, maybe I should have let it go tall. That's what I'm going to let this center one go tall, because it needs to be above the roof so that you can get light early in the day. This is a tough place to grow an apple tree. Look at the light. And then boom, you get a shade all afternoon, no matter what time of year, right there. And then you get a little bit of sunlight depending on what time of year. A fig, Black Mission, final, I think. I don't know, it's green. But then we've got muscadine grapes, 2 varieties to pollinate each other. Update on the apple. Ready? Update on the peach and nectarine. Wow, that's huge. I keep cutting it down. I've done so many summer prunings. This peach I'm bending down to encourage it to use more of this area, because I know it's going to be shaded by the more vigorous tree. I'll let this one produce a lot of fruit, so it stresses out the tree more. Not so much to where it becomes biannual, but I'll let it fruit its second year while pruning. But this one, I won't. I'll let it grow up and catch up to this tree. And I think I'll be doing that by fruit load management. And a nice flower garden. The golden Dorset is really looking nice. Can't wait for the spring, because there's all sorts of fruiting spurs that are popping up everywhere that are just waiting to burst forth in beauty in the spring. So I am excited about that. And blueberry, blackberry, raspberry, more blackberry. This is a tiny blackberry that I propagated in the spring, and it's already that big. It's just beautiful. It's wonderful how easy they are to propagate. And I pulled a sucker of a blackberry out and planted it here, and it hasn't shown one bit of stress. They're amazing. Here's a raspberry, and also not really showing much signs of stress. Blueberry, and that is it. The garden's slowing down, and the passion fruit vine is not producing fruit. I may only have a flowering vine, but the butterflies really love something. Wow, I'm excited. Can't wait for the freeze. Well, not freeze. I can't wait for more chill hours to put my apples to sleep. And then a nice early spring with not much cool weather. So, praise the Lord for beautiful gardens and the joy that it brings.